So I've just come over my local woodland to my camp. I'm just on the way there now, and I just thought I would come out just for an hour or so before the sun drops. I've got a head torch and stuff in case it drops a bit dark quicker than expected, which it does do this time of year. And it's been chucking it down for the last 2 days, really. So I've just come out with a couple of bits of kit just to see if I can basically get a fire going in this wet conditions. So I've got 2 things with me, which is my Forest Fundamentals large fire steel. So it's got a striker on it and a small piece of fat wood, and I've got a very small knife, which is kind of my EDC knife that I carry, which is a little spyderco. So that's all of the knives I've got, all the kit I've got, bar head torch just in case it drops a bit dark. So yes, I'm going to head to my little camp. En route, I'm going to see if I can find some tinder, small sticks that potentially will be dry, or can get the fire going for like the first part of the fire. So we'll see when I get to camp. Okay, so along this kind of tree line here, we've got all this old dead grass and kind of stuff from last year. So I'm going to collect some of this. Obviously it has rained, so it is a little bit damp, but it's been in the wind all day, so I'm hoping the wind has kind of dried it out. So I think it's last year's kind of what do you call it, thistles and hairy willow herb and stuff like that. So I'm going to collect some more of this and see how we get on. So this is the route into my camp. So as you can see, there's trees either side, lots of hazel trees. We've got these here, which have obviously got the nice straight sticks, which I might start coming down here to get some stuff for camp, for projects. So got a couple of down trees across tracks and etc. So it is quite overgrown this time of year. So as I'm walking along, I'm looking for dead small twigs, larger twigs hung up in trees, which I can use to get the fire going. So for example, this stuff here is snap dead, so you can hear that snap as I snap it. And anything that, general rule of thumb, that sounds like a fire crackling is dry enough and dead enough to help you start a fire. So find some of that. There's a few trees coming down in the wind over the last couple of days, so I'll have to bring my saw with me and do some chopping, because this is bar the canal, the route from the canal, which is opposite this track. This is the only track in, and obviously carrying a dye sack, it's going to be a bit hard getting through all of this, so I might have to do a little bit of chopping. So yeah, I'm just nearly at camp now, so collect some more bits en route and see if we can get this fire going. I also need to look for some silver birch bark or something like that. Okay, so I've just got to camp and everywhere is soaked, but I have got some thicker stuff just there, some thin with very dead leaves, some fern or bracken dead leaves as a base. I've got loads of silver birch bark just there, and in my pocket, which I'm keeping in there warm until I'm ready to go, is all that dead grass. So I'm going to get set up, get some silver birch bark cut, and then we're going to go from there. Okay, so as I said, all I've got with me, knife-wise, is my small little spyderco. So it is non-locking, so I'm going to have to be careful with how I'm cutting. So this is silver birch bark, so I'm hoping to cut some strips out of this. All the resin and tar and etc. of this tree sits in the bark, so this tree actually rots from the inside out. So this tinder is going to be very wet, this bark, but It'll have all the, it's called birchulin on the outside on the bark. So I'm hoping that I can get a fire going using this. So I'm going to collect more than I think, as you should do with fire lighting. Always collect more than you think. And I am going to try and like kind of fluff it up and dry it out a bit in my pocket before I try and get this fire going. I could have got some of this en route, but there isn't many dead trees around the area, so dead of these, so I didn't want to start lopping new bark off these trees because it's not good for the trees. So let's get some nice big sections off this dead tree. Okay, so I've got loads of that, so I'll try and get it set up now, and we'll go from there. I'm going to get my chopping block from over there to kind of work on. Okay, so I've got the birch bark. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scrape the back of it to get rid of the kind of dead bits of tree and underbark, which is a bit wet. That's a better piece. It doesn't pick it up so much. As you can see, the outer bark kind of unpeels from the inner bark. So I'm going to get this all set up into strips, okay, and then I'm going to try and get the fire going with this. So I'm going to set a little base out of birch bark, so I've got plenty of surface area to get it going. I have some long strips ready to drop on the fire. So I've got two main pieces here, 3 or 4 main pieces, which I'm going to try and scrape a nice big pile of silver birch bark shavings into a pile to try and get the flint and steel on. So using the knife, I'm going to scrape the silver birch bark as much as I can and get it into little piles of shavings. So you're scraping the external bark, not the internal side. And you're just going to try and get as many small shavings as you can. So just use the knife at 90 degrees and try and get as many small shavings, nice thin shavings like that, as you can. You want them as thin as possible, thin as paper. Obviously if they're wet, you need them really thin. As you can see, I've got some nice paper thin shavings. Just peel them off, drop them into the pile. And that can be used now as to get this going. So my plan is to put some sparks onto this with a little technique that I've seen today on internet, and hopefully let's get this thing going. So I'm going to readjust so you can see everything and get going. Okay, so tinder pile is there. I'm going to get out my very dry sticks that have been in the rear pocket of my jacket. Yeah, so really dry sticks, which I want to try and keep off the floor as much as possible so they don't absorb any water. So I'm going to stick them back in my pocket for now. I'm only going to use half to start with, in case this doesn't work, and we can go again then. Right, so flint and steel, or ferro rod, whatever you want to call it, ferrocerium rod. So this is the big one. I'm not going to use my bit of fat wood for now. I'm going to try and just using this. So let's put my knife away so I know where it is. So I've seen a little thing today. He called it the landmine method. So you scrape really slowly and hard. Try and get like a pile of shavings on top, and when you strike the striker, then it kind of gets the bits of ferrocerium on fire as well. So we'll see how this is going to work. So let's just try and slowly scrape some shavings into this pile, which I can see the shavings, and then obviously when you strike it, it will light the little bits of ferrocerium on fire. So I'm going to go for it now. So there you go, silver birch is caught. So let's get some silver birch on top, get going as well. So don't panic, let's just get some tinder going. So I've got quite a few bits there. I've got my extremely dead dry grass, which I'm going to drop on, followed by and then I'm going to use a stick to kind of brace it and bring it up above, bring the sticks above the fire. So you can see the dead leaves are doing their job as well, so they're catching. So just when it starts to come through, just add a bit more, add a bit more. So the next size I've got now really is the stuff I've just got off the trees, so get that on. You can probably hear it hissing because it's obviously very wet, so this might not fully go to plan, but we'll see. And then we'll get some thick stuff on as well to start drying out just on top, and we'll see how that burns. Got some thinner stuff here as well to drop on top. Because I've got it going, I am going to drop on this really dead stuff on top, so it burns from the top as well. So let's just drop some thin stuff on top as well. So get this thin stuff on top. So we've just basically a small pan knife, and some silver birch bark. I have got a fire going, so this wood is quite wet. Hopefully it will burn if I drop some on. So for a small little piece of silver birch and a technique using the fire steel, which you're, as I said, shaving nice and slow, and then when you strike, it's actually lighting the bits of ferrocerium on fire as well. So considering it's been wet for the whole day, just proves if you do a little bit of prep, you can get a fire going in a lot of conditions. So just while we're here, camp has held up pretty well in the wind, so I'll put some nice big thick pieces on top of the thinner stuff, and it's looking all right. Like, so hopefully I'll be able to stay in that in the next week or so. So this is the first time being over here when it's quite a bit dark, so it's yeah, hopefully it'll be good. So I have just been sat for the last 10 minutes or so just next to the fire, just adding small little twigs just to kind of keep it going, and I've also put some bigger twigs on there, some bigger sticks on there. I've just cut a few strips of silver birch bark and dropped them on just to give it a bit of a, and as you can see, it's going pretty well. I didn't really prep too much big wood. I just picked up what was in my little pile just off to my side here, which is stuff that was like already split, but obviously is quite wet because it's been rained on. But the fire's doing pretty well. I'm going to sit here for 10 more minutes until it gets dark. I just want to see what it's like over here when it's dark. There's a bit of a recce really for when I come and do an overnighter in my shelter or in a tarp or whatever, because there's plenty of spaces to sleep under a tarp as well. So, and to see what wildlife I can see as well in those smoke to the eyes, in those that den behind us, see if anything comes out or I can see any movement. Okay, so the fire is dying down now. I'm just going to let it burn out now, and as you can see, the woodland is starting to get dark. So I'm just going to sit here until it gets dark for another maybe 15-20 minutes and see how it looks. So I'm just sitting at camp and I look up through the trees and I see just red, and I'm like, what is going on here? So I'm hoping it's not too late. I can try and capture this sky on my phone, on the video for you. I think I've left it a little light, to be honest. So let's have a look. Oh yeah, but you can see it looks nice. I'm not high enough, so I think I have missed it, but lovely little area to have a camp anyway. So you obviously can't see me, you can see my head in there's a silhouette, but so it's about 7:10 and it's dark now. So yeah, this is the woodland, so it is decently dark. So the M6 is just there, which is the light you can see. So until it drops quiet later on, it's obviously going to be quiet, loud when I'm trying to get to sleep. But if I come for a camp on a weekend, hopefully it won't be as too bad, to be honest. So it should quieten down. So I'll leave the video there and I'll see you soon. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.